So you were saying that the Philippines seems to be on a positive trajectory, but things are very dynamic in the region. Lots of competition going on, and of course, there are a number of initiatives that have been mentioned, and one was made by the central bank governor when he attended your FINEX meeting last month.
Yes.
And that was he was asking for support for, I guess, changes in the bank secrecy law. What is that about, and how will that help the business environment, or if it will at all?
Correct. So I agree. No? So during the August 2, it was a special general membership meeting in honor of our new governor. So one of the things he mentioned was that maybe he was looking for private sector support in terms of maybe easing the bank secrecy law. So one aspect of that is really, it directly relates to their ability to really properly govern the financial services sector. So can you imagine a bank inspector or auditor trying to do his or her job, but he or she does not have enough tools or information available to come up with the proper conclusions as a result of the review or the audit. So, and I think that will likewise move us at par. It's all about being competitive now, going back to that overall theme. I believe that most countries, if not almost all, all countries in the world have already eased any deposit information secrecy acts that they may have. So it's really about being more transparent.
Okay. So is it correct to say it's about governance? I mean, both public and private here? Is that an accurate way to describe it?
Yes, I'd like to think so. Because governance, it's about having to manage with eyes wide open things that are within your purview.
Okay.
So naturally, BSP, just doing its own functions would be able to better complete or be able to actually conduct its mandate over the financial services.
But let me play devil's advocate here a bit, because I would assume that some people in the business sector would probably hesitate in supporting that initiative, because probably they're suspicious that maybe some people in government may tend to abuse it. Is that a concern at all, or are you confident with the measures in place to prevent that from happening?
First of all, allow me to put a caveat. Right?
Okay.
So definitely, a lot of my opinions here would really be more personal in nature, and although we do have regular discussions with the business community, I don't think that I'm the proper person to give that.
So is that correct to say? Is it correct to interpret then that your FINEX as an institution is still studying it? Would that be a correct way to go about it?
That's correct. Because we don't have a final position paper or final say on it. But again,
so your personal view.
Yeah. So connecting it to being competitive, proper governance, and trust. Those things need to be put in place in order to make the overall system more transparent. But as you've mentioned, it is a sensitive topic or area, and different stakeholders or constituents within the business sector would have varying opinions regarding it. So yeah, but overall, it's really about trying to come up with the proper policies and regulations to make all stakeholders, confident in the process or in the policy, and then make sure that the leaders that are there, that are supposed to implement these policies, would actually do their own mandate.
Right. So as a general principle, you're for transparency.
Yes.
Right. And you also mentioned, let's bring in digitization, because you mentioned that earlier. An increasing number of activities is going digital. Right, partly because of the pandemic, partly also because it's so much easier to do these days, right?
That's correct.
But one of the problems that I see, or I'm not sure if it's a problem, you tell me, that this transparency has yet to carry over, especially since we have these DeFi movement, right? You have these cryptocurrencies, and sometimes the KYC rules that apply in the business practices that exist has not yet really caught up. Where in fact that whole system is designed to bypass
Correct.
Central Monetary Authority, right?
Agree, but yeah, I think we are in transition,
Okay.
right, from a less digital economy, but as a result of the pandemic and as a result of new technology that are being introduced in the country, we are then slowly moving into that digital economy. And the reality is the front end of it, right, is more advanced than the regulations or the policies
Right.
that is supposed to look over.
There's always a policy lag. There's always,
Yes.
yeah.
And it's nothing new,
Okay.
right? So of course, business people, or given the entrepreneurial spirit of people in general, you adjust, right, to what the market and what the environment gives you. And then as a result of, by the regulators looking into the situation, you then try to catch up and then update the appropriate rules and the regulations. So actually, I mean, you can connect that even to one of the most recent general membership meeting topics, by FINEX, wherein
Okay.
we discussed the ethics, the interplay of ethics and the digital economy. And one of the things mentioned, and we approached it either from legal, from practical purposes, from the practitioners. And it's really making sure that we are aware of how the digital economy is affecting the different aspects of our personal lives, or even that of the businesses, and then putting in place the proper regulations and the proper bells and whistles, so to speak, to ensure that all stakeholders will actually benefit. Because at the end of the day, we're doing this to benefit, right? Either the buyer and the seller in an actual market transaction. So that for us is very important.
Okay.
We're trying to advocate for improvements
Right.
in our policies and rules, so that proper legal and ethical considerations continue to exist and actually catch up
Right.
in the digital economy.
The transparency issue can be, of course, another aspect of competitiveness, right? How do we compare in terms of transparency to these other countries that we talked about earlier, Vietnam, Indonesia, Thailand, and maybe others in Southeast Asia? And is that a factor, do you think, that can be used to make the Philippines more attractive, both as an investment destination,
Correct.
or as a place to do business?
Yes, I think I'm in agreement with that. For me, transparency is knowing that you know the information.
Right.
So part of an investment consideration by a potential investor would be understanding the lay of the land.
Right.
Right. So the riskier that investment destination is perceived, the higher the price,
Okay.
so to speak. Right.
Right.
And therefore less palatable
Right.
from an investment perspective.
Okay.
So it's important to make sure that the relevant information, market, commercial, legal, regulatory information, are made readily available or easy to obtain.
Right.
And then making sure that it could be understood very plainly.
Right. And on that measure, how do we compare? Are we competitive with regard to transparency?
I would think that we're still in the middle of the pack.
Okay.
For example, it's easier to obtain market information for countries like Australia
Okay.
and Singapore.
Oh.
But I'd like to think, and this is based on how we've experienced it in the past, that we are at par with majority,
Okay.
and we are ahead of some
Okay.
within the Asia-Pacific region. So I think we're comfortably in the middle,
Okay.
but we always want to improve.
Right.
We don't want to be in the middle of the pack.
Right.
We want to catch up.
Right.
And I think as Filipinos, Filipino pride, right? We want to be top of the line. We want
Right.
to improve. So there are specific economies and countries that we are trying to catch up with,
Right.
so that we won't be known as a country within the middle of the pack, but rather be leaders, as far as transparency is concerned, and maybe as an investment destination.
Interesting.